Did Canada just outmaneuver the United States in the global trade game? While Washington was caught up in trade wars and economic disputes, Canada made a bold and strategic move in Europe, one that could reshape transatlantic trade and challenge America's economic dominance. But how did this happen? And more importantly, what happens next? This isn't just about politics, it's about business, money, and influence. Canada has quietly been making deals that could shift billions of dollars in trade away from the US. And if Washington doesn't act fast, it could lose a major grip on NATO's economic power. But is this just a short-term play, or is Canada setting itself up as a true global trade powerhouse? Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll see why this could be one of the biggest economic shakeups in years. The big move. Let's break it down. While the US was busy imposing tariffs and picking fights with trading partners, Canada saw an opening and took it. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau wasn't just in Europe for photo ops. He came with a mission: convince European businesses and NATO allies to shift their supply chains away from US companies and toward Canadian ones. This isn't speculation, it's happening right now. Canada's pitch is simple but powerful. Competitive pricing. Fewer trade restrictions. A more stable and predictable trade relationship. And in a world where the US is using tariffs and trade barriers as political weapons, that pitch is starting to look very attractive to European businesses. The foundation, CETA. At the heart of this strategy is CETA, the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement between Canada and the EU. It's been around since 2017, but Canada is now doubling down on it. And guess what? It's working. Trade between Canada and the EU has already grown by 2/3 under CETA. That's not just a small bump, that's a massive shift. And here's why this matters. If even a small portion of European businesses move their supply chains from US suppliers to Canadian ones, the economic impact could be huge. We are talking about billions of dollars in trade moving away from the US economy and into Canada. The perfect timing. So why is this happening now? It's all about timing. The US has been ramping up its use of economic pressure tactics, including tariffs on both allies and rivals. Just recently, Washington announced a 25% tariff on European automobile imports. That's a direct hit to European industries, and it's making businesses nervous. Nobody wants to be caught in the middle of an escalating trade war. European companies are looking for alternatives, and Canada is giving them one. The energy factor. And it's not just about manufacturing or aerospace, this is about energy security too. Europe has been trying to reduce its reliance on US energy exports, especially as global energy markets become more unpredictable. And Canada? It's stepping up as a major alternative supplier of natural gas and oil. This is a game changer. Energy security isn't just about economics, it's about geopolitics. If Europe can rely on Canada for energy, that's one less reason for them to depend on the US. Beyond energy, Canada's manufacturing and tech push. Canada isn't stopping at energy. It's making major plays in manufacturing, aerospace, and tech, all industries where European businesses are actively looking for stable and competitive suppliers. Take the Swiss chocolate giant, Lindt & Sprüngli. The company is already adjusting its supply chains to avoid US tariffs by sourcing more from Canada. This might seem like a small example, but it's part of a much larger trend. This isn't just about one or two companies, it's about shifting entire supply chains. And if enough European businesses make the switch, the US could be looking at a serious economic power shift. The political influence game. And here's where things get really interesting. This isn't just about trade, it's about global influence. For years, the US has used its economic dominance to influence global politics, especially within NATO. But if NATO members start shifting their trade relationships toward Canada, Washington's ability to call the shots weakens. Think about it, if Europe starts seeing Canada as a key economic partner, it's not just about trade deals. It's about leverage in political negotiations. And make no mistake, Washington wasn't expecting this. How will the US respond? Now, the big question is, what will the US do about it? Because make no mistake, Washington is watching this shift very closely. The US has two choices. 1. Fight back economically by offering better incentives to keep European businesses locked into American supply chains. 2. apply pressure on Canada to back off and maintain US dominance in transatlantic trade. But both options come with risks. If Washington pushes too hard, it could actually drive more European companies toward Canada. If it does nothing, Canada could solidify itself as a serious trade rival. Signs of retaliation. And we are already seeing signs of retaliation. The US recently doubled tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum, raising them to 50%. That's not just a minor trade dispute, it's a direct warning shot. But Canada isn't backing down. Ontario responded by suspending a 25% surcharge on electricity exports to the US, a clear signal that it's willing to push back. And this is exactly why Canada is diversifying. Every time the US applies economic pressure, Canada realizes just how risky it is to rely too much on American markets. The bigger picture, is Canada a true trade alternative? So, what does all of this mean? Is Canada just making short-term deals, or is it actually positioning itself as a true global trade power? Well, the pattern is clear. Stronger trade relationships with Europe mean Canada isn't fully reliant on US markets. New energy exports position Canada as a global supplier, not just an American backup. Supply chain diversification ensures Canada's economy isn't tied to any one trading partner. This isn't just about a few deals, this is a long-term strategy. And if it works, it could permanently shift the balance of economic power in transatlantic trade. Washington's next move. So now, all eyes are on Washington. How will the US respond? If it tries to strong-arm Canada, it risks pushing European businesses even further away. If it ignores the shift, it could lose influence over a region it has dominated for decades. This could go one of two ways. 1. The US offers better trade deals to keep Europe close. 2. The US escalates trade pressure on Canada to force it back in line. Either way, this is more than just trade, it's about alliances, leverage, and long-term power. Final thought. So here's the big question. Will Canada successfully establish itself as a legitimate alternative to US suppliers? Or will Washington find a way to pull Europe back into its economic orbit? One thing is certain, this trade battle is just getting started. If you found this analysis interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into global trade power moves. And let us know in the comments, do you think Canada can challenge the US in transatlantic trade? Let's discuss.